Spa was amazing because of course the performance was really good in the wet, and we're consistent in the top 10 from P3 and then to qualifying. So our pace was really good, and then I didn't know what to expect when the track was drying up. So yeah, P7 in Q3 was much more than I could ever expect from my first qualifying. But you know, it was great. The car was working very well for the conditions, and we got a good performance. So.
Do you talk to yourself much in the cockpit? Was it like, come on, Bruno, this is the moment, you've got to do it now? Was there any of that sort of going on inside your mind?
Well, normally when I'm doing a lap, I'm focusing on everything that's happening. And on my lap on Q2, I made a gross mistake in the first corner, which I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get into Q3 because of that. But it was still good enough for Q3, so that showed that our pace was not bad. And then in Q3, I started the laps being quite careful, and then starting to push a bit harder. In the last lap, I said, you know what, I'm here already, it's a victory already to be in Q3, I might as well just push, and if I make a mistake and go off the track, you know, it's okay. And the lap was a pretty good lap, so it was very surprising to be there, but I just tried to build up slowly to it, and it worked. Even before the race, I knew the first corner would be very complicated. I never driven the car in the dry with high fuel, and never took a La Source in high fuel. So I just didn't brake hard enough because I didn't know exactly what to expect from the brakes of the car, and ended up hitting Jaime, which was a bit of a shame for him as well. He had the best qualifying of the year. So you know, it damaged my race, but then didn't damage the amount of laps I could do. I still managed to do the whole race after that, and that was obviously the most important thing for me. So took loads of experience from Spa. The race performance was really good. The team was very happy with the race performance. So after that, the pressure was to get the first corner right and then try to build the race. And I approached Monza with a much more calm head, much more easy. The pressure was higher because of course everybody else was in the top of the game because the conditions were dry, where everybody knows. So it was much harder to actually get competitive than it was in Spa. But again, put the car in top 10 again, which was just top 10 by 6,000s. But in the end of the day, I couldn't really expect to go and qualify and do the perfect job. I was struggling to get the tires up to temperature in the right order, and that probably took a lot of my potential lap time away. Still, it was top 10, and the race this time was really good.
And you got good miles under your belt, which is so critical, bearing in mind how little testing you had in the build-up to all this.
Yeah, during the Monza weekend, the important thing was to make sure that I didn't go off the track. And in FP1, I was being really careful. I was far away from Vitali's pace, but I wasn't concerned about it. I know, especially after the tires were gone, my pace was actually getting really close to his pace with the same life of tires. And after that, then it was very competitive with him in testing. So that made me very confident that the weekend could be good. And I did a bucket load of laps, really so many laps this weekend, which was very important for me because now I have a good sense of direction for the car setup, and it worked very well for the race. So it was probably one of the funnest races I've ever done, because again we had the first corner incident, which fortunately I wasn't participating on, but it really got me in a very difficult position to the race. I was P18 restarting, and when we made the pit stop too late, 2 laps into the safety car period, then I was stuck behind the Toro Rosso, which was a very fast car on the straight. And the DRS works very well when you're behind the car and it doesn't have someone else in front of him, but when there are 3 cars DRSing and using their curves, everybody's just on the rev limiter on the straight, and it makes it very difficult to overtake.
Nonetheless, your first points, so you've gone from Spa, where you made Q3 and actually out-qualified Vitali along the way, to scoring your first points in Monza. You've got to be happy with the way things are going.
I'm really happy. I mean, as I said, I didn't know what to expect when I came back into the championship like this, with no testing, with no experience, without racing for so long. But I think I'm adapting quickly. The team is happy with that, because obviously they were a bit scared that I would take long to adapt. Well, the fitness training is not a big issue. I mean, Monza, I was wearing my heart rate monitor, and my heart rate was really calm. Apart from the overtaking moments where it goes, they have some really nice spikes up to 180s,
What was it, generally speaking?
It's 150, 152, so it's for my heart rate is very low, and so I felt comfortable doing the race. But Singapore, of course, is much more hard work. So if I'm in this 160s, I can still do hours and hours of that. So, but again, we have no simulator yet. The simulator is being built now. They're starting to put the building up, and should be interesting to see where we can go.
Bruno, when we last spoke to you on the flying lap, you had, I think, just gone to Brazil from Australia, where you'd got a bit bored, dare I say it. I think you used that word after a while. You hadn't yet got your test or reserve driver deal secured. A lot's happened since then. And we can all talk about how difficult it is with the lack of testing, but there's also a mental aspect to this as well, where, first of all, you didn't know what you were going to be doing. Then you got the drive, kind of, and then they hired Nick Heidfeld, and you were kind of on the sidelines. How did you handle that period, and how did you handle that mentally?
Well, if you look at it, I started the year with basically without a job, and didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I was trying to figure out, and when I got the test drive, I was really happy about it because it was already something very special for me. I've never been part of a big Formula 1 team, and Eric was giving me this great opportunity to go and learn and work with the team. So I was really happy about it. And then all the hurricane hit, and everything became very difficult because there was the chance of going in the car, but then again they weren't so sure because I had been in the team for a week. I had one test. I was really positive test with them in Jerez, but it was only on one day. So the opportunity in Formula 1 is very difficult to get, and I was still quite happy even after they decided to go with Nick, because I wanted to learn as much as possible, and the plan was to prepare for next year, for 2012. And then the year started to go a bit up and down. We were talking to the team all the time about trying to get some Fridays in, and I think what really clinched the deal was the Friday in Hungary, because although the fastest lap time wasn't as fast as Vitali, the laps after his fastest lap were really close together, and I think they started to be that's actually not so bad. You know, he with one set of tires, I was actually getting close to Vitali. So I think that put the team a bit more at ease. And when they decided that it was a good idea to put me in the car again, and racing came. So many changes, and I was so happy already about the Hungary Friday. And then racing in Spa was just out of my mind. I couldn't believe that was going to happen. So now that I'm in the car until the end of the year, it's just so much happening, and hard to believe.
And that's one of the great things, isn't it? Giving a young guy a chance on a Friday. We don't see too many teams doing that. Force India doing it regularly, and a couple of other teams. But in general, that's what swung it for you, Renault, making that decision.
I wasn't expecting it. We were trying to get it because, of course, it would be interesting to get in the car. But I was trying to get in the car as much as possible. Every time there was a straight line testing, I was like, I want to do it, I want to do it. Everything that was possible to get in the car, with the R30, with the R29, any car that I could drive, I was always trying to do it. And we've been working really hard with the team to build a good relationship, and I think all these things worked together and resulted on the drive. So it's not so easy to get, and I don't think many other people could have the same opportunity. So I'm holding this.
Bruno, it's been the year of the Senna movie. What impact has that had on you? I guess lots more people have been coming up to you asking you about your uncle, and where are you at with that movie in your mind?
You know, the movie, I watched it just before the Brazilian Grand Prix last year, and it fired me up massively for the Grand Prix. I could never imagine that something could have such a psychological effect. So I got to the Grand Prix and I was fully fired up, and I had probably one of the best races of my season last year with the Brazilian Grand Prix. It was really good. No one notices it because the car was not quick enough, but it was a good race. And then so many people watched the movie since then, and we got so much praise from the movie. I mean, the guys who made the movie, they just did a great job, and everybody who watches it, even people who have no idea about motor racing, they just come out of the cinema and they think that was something really special. So you know, it's one of those things that we take with a lot of pride, and take it to our hearts, because it's a great tribute to Ayrton. Ayrton has given so much to Brazil and to the world, and then he's still, even so many years after his death, he's still alive in many people's hearts.
Are you allowing yourself to think what it's going to be like for you when you go to Brazil this year, driving for Lotus Renault Grand Prix?
It's going to be very special. Last year was my first time racing in Brazil, so again another massive boost, and the crowd was so supportive. I could never believe that I was P23, P all the back, and they were so supportive. I couldn't believe it, and then they that gave me another boost as well in motivation. And this year with a good car, hope I can get something special to end the season in a high note.
There's no element of I've got to be careful, I've got to make sure I don't overcommit myself, get too carried away. You're just embracing it and looking forward to Brazil by the sound of it.
Well, I think that will be the last race of the year, so by then I should have a decent idea of what I can achieve and what I cannot achieve with the car. So we're working really hard with the team to try and get as much as possible out of this car. The team hasn't stopped developing this car yet, and I think we're trying to learn as much as possible for next year's car as well. So for me, I'll get to Brazil with as much experience as I will get this year, and hopefully by then I'll be very comfortable with the car and try to be more competitive.
And what is the situation for 2012 at the moment?
Well, I guess every race this year, every good result that I get will help me towards that. So far there's nothing settled, but I'm sure that these two races I've done so far have helped me a little bit to know that by now we have much more attention from the people that didn't really remember what I did in GP2, and this is very, very motivating for me to continue building up and hopefully impressing the right people.
Formula One's going through a difficult time economically. You're with an interesting team in terms of their ownership and the Renault partnership there. We all know how many drivers are having to generate money from their countries. How is your situation in Brazil like that? In the past, the cliche has been there are so many Brazilian drivers, it's very difficult for the young guys to come along and do it. But we see the Petros, we see the Maldonados, we see even the Alonsos in a way with Santander generating money. It looks as if you're starting to be able to get some momentum there. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Brazil is fortunately very strong economically now, even with all the turmoil that's happening in the world still. Brazil is quite strong, and we've been able to generate some good interest from Brazilian companies to the team, and so far we managed to close 3 sponsorships that came straight after the announcement of me racing in Spa and Monza. So for sure there's great potential to find a sponsorship for the team, and for me it's not only interesting because it raises my profile as a driver. When you associate yourself with great companies, you raise your own profile. It's also money that goes into the car, and that's performance, and that's a result. So if I could find all the sponsorship for the team, I would, but I know that's just a joke. But it would, if I can help the team, I'm helping myself as well.
Bruno, looking back at the Italian Grand Prix, a lot of discussion about Michael versus Lewis and stewards' decisions or not, contentious moves. What's your view on the double move in terms of you make one move and then you get back onto the racing line? There seems to be a big grey area there now in the minds of many people. Well,
it is a difficult situation because when you're following the other car and you're on the brakes and the guy moves in front of you back, then you just lose your downforce, and sometimes you can crash into this guy, and then sometimes the guy who's behind gets a penalty for that, and it's not really the right thing. So watching the race afterwards, I was a bit impressed that Michael didn't get a reprimand or any sort of telling off, because he was a bit naughty, moving a few times too many and squeezing Lewis onto the grass a few times. And I know that everybody must fight for their positions as hard as possible, but there is hard and there is too much. In fairness, Lewis is also a very difficult racer to overtake, so I'm not sure if they have some history there, but for sure I think you need to give the other guy some space, and if you make a mistake then it's one thing, but if you're just being a bit too aggressive, we've seen both of them being a bit too aggressive a few times. What
do you think your uncle would have thought of that race if he was now retired and watching that race and asked for his opinion on Michael and Lewis?
I'm sure he would be the first one to support all the blocking moves.
Thanks very much. Best of luck.
Cheers.